Scott Shafer has been one of the most harshly criticized YouTubers in the commentary community so far this year, with countless videos and live streams by multiple bigger creators having been published against him. But I personally believe that almost 90% of the criticism and hate directed towards Scott Shafer is entirely unjustified. So this video is gonna be yet another controversial hot take, because this is the defense of Scott Shafer. But before we get into today's video, if you enjoy my content, then please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 350 subs before the end of the month, so every single subscriber would help me out greatly and would be heavily appreciated. Anyway, back to the video. Alright, so this video is gonna be a first on this channel, because this is the first time I'm criticizing people I actually somewhat respect, as well as people that might even give me a decent response, because most of my usual videos are like against celebrities like Robin Schulz or Logan Paul, for example, and obviously people like that are too big to ever respond to me, and most of my other videos are against people that are just way too far gone to ever give me a decent response, like Fuck That or Paul Dodds. But this time I'm actually criticizing people that I think are able to engage with criticism at the very least, because the four main people who made content against Scott Shafer are DeOrio, WillyMacShow, Nerdy John, and Chud Logic. And Nick seems like a decent enough person. Like, if Nick posts a tweet on Twitter, the average Nick DeOrio tweet I'd probably agree with. WillyMacShow is literally my favorite YouTuber. I really enjoy that guy's content. Nerdy John, I went on that guy's podcast, so obviously I respect him a lot too. And Chud Logic, I didn't really know him, but from my brief research he seems alright. So because all of these YouTubers seem like they're at the very least not completely like dishonest, this is really gonna be the first time that I'm arguing against people that I think are actually capable of taking my criticism, which means this is gonna be very interesting. But before we get into the criticism, here's a brief introduction to who Scott Shafer actually is, in case you were unfamiliar with him. So he's the guy that essentially took down the established title scam. A few months back he released a video exposing prominent YouTube sponsor established titles for being an obvious scam, because they promoted their brand as if buying a plot of their land and getting a document stating that you are now a lord would make you legally a lord in Scotland.
Oh my goodness, I own a piece of Scotland, guys.
When you buy land in Scotland, you are legally referred to as a lord or lady. So this, I bought a square foot of land where they're gonna plant a tree.
And that was obviously just a complete lie. And Scott's video had the impact of a bomb, alright, because it now has 2.7 million views, and it made a bunch of YouTubers cut ties with established titles and admit that it was in fact a scam. For example, SomeOrdinaryGamers, The Codering, The Wild Eye, Pyrocynical, Isaac Butterfield, and many more. Now obviously, when these YouTubers were promoting this product, they weren't aware of it being a scam, but Scott's video did showcase that most YouTubers weren't properly researching the stuff that they were promoting during their videos. Now there was also a subsection of YouTubers who defended established titles by bringing up the argument that it's obviously just a gag gift. Mainly WillyMacShow, Sam Cedar, some black guy, and Paige Christie, who really embarrassed herself the most out of all of these people. But after some time, most of them did eventually also fall into admitting that established titles was in fact a scam.
However, it's abundantly clear by reading the top comments in my last video that the majority of people thought buying established titles made you legally a lord. And look, I'll admit it, it doesn't matter how obvious I think it is. If the majority of people feel like they're being tricked into buying your product, that makes it a scam.
Because there were just insane amounts of people claiming they bought this product and felt scammed by the company. And there were just so many ads that were blatantly spreading misinformation by the company itself. But that established titles controversy really catapulted Scott Shafer from someone who only had a few thousand subs to somebody who can now comfortably live off making YouTube videos. And ever since his big video, he just sort of continued to make videos on influencer scams, and the main video people are criticizing is this one, where Scott Shafer criticizes Logan Paul for the hydration drink Prime that he's been promoting for almost a year now. Now Scott's video isn't perfect, but it's definitely way overhated because it's not a bad video. So let's have a look at what the critics said. Alright, so one of the people that went after this video was commentary channel DeOrio, who appeared on this guy Dead on Dave's show to kind of just trash Scott's video, and I think his arguments range from far-fetched to just coming from pure jealousy and hatred.
Seeing as Prime is a private company, no one can verify how much of the company Logan KSI own, and I reached out to Prime Hydration to see if they wanted to tell me the ownership amounts, but have not heard anything back.
Shocked.
Now let's take a look at the marketing around
email.
It's almost like it's not your fucking business.
It's almost like it's not actually fucking pertinent because you're trying to make a point that doesn't really make a point. You're trying to get people upset over a fact that doesn't really fucking matter. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's a real, like, honest, who gives a
Who
fuck if
fucking
Logan's
cares?
What if Logan's a majority owner of Prime? Like, how would my life change?
Alright, so here Scott Shafer brings up the argument that there's no way of verifying that Logan Paul actually owns the company Prime, because there's a lot of articles claiming that he's not a majority owner, but also a lot of different media articles say that he's the founder of Prime, and of course Logan Paul himself claims to be the founder, but at the end of the day, Prime is a private company, so ownership percentages can't be verified. Now, Nicholas DeOrio is saying that this doesn't affect his life at all, which in my opinion is a very, very weak argument for a commentary YouTuber to make, because at the end of the day, what commentary video really affects your life? As a viewer, you're just sucking up information by watching a commentary video. Like you, the person viewing this video, you're doing that right now. I mean, of course, there are certain situations where you can be directly affected by a commentary video, but the average commentary video is just sucking up information, just like every video Nicholas DeOrio ever made, realistically speaking. And here the information is just, we cannot verify that Logan Paul is a majority owner of the company. Therefore, his and KSI's claim that they have full control over what happens with the company.
We definitely own a percentage of Prime, and we are also able to dictate what happens with Prime.
This claim cannot be verified. That's it. It's not supposed to change your life, it's just stating facts.
Now, if you want to use this as just an everyday drink that you can have anytime, it's fine in that case, but for post-workout recovery, this thing needs to actually pack more of a
It's so annoying.
punch. From there,
He
Logan
has to
decides to go
concede that,
deep.
though, because he's like, he can't say it's worse than Gatorade, because then he'd literally be a huge fucking liar. So he has to be like, well, if you're just gonna drink, if you're like one of the thousands of kids who are purchasing this to look cool in public, it's probably fine for regular consumption. Like, you mean the reason why 99% of the people are buying it?
Now, this argument is also rather nonsensical to me, because Prime is being marketed towards two groups, mainly young children and people that want to drink it after exercising. And for Nicholas DeOrio to sit here and say only kids are buying it, that's not refuting Scott's actual argument. Scott is saying that by getting all of these big sponsorship contracts with athletes like the Arsenal soccer team, or just Logan Paul and KSI being athletes themselves, they are fooling people into believing that this is an actual viable drink to get energy after workouts, when in reality it's just not, because it majorly lacks in nutrition. And that point doesn't just suddenly become irrelevant just because kids are the main target demographic that are actually buying these things, because it's also being heavily promoted as an after workout drink for adults.
Now, Gatorade is basically Kool-Aid for adults, in my opinion. It has way too much sugar, so I'm not going to defend Gatorade by any means.
You look like you have way too
much.
much sugar.
Now, I don't want to focus on this for too long, but the fact that this guy is calling Scott Shafer fat while hosting a show with Nicholas DeOrio, who looks like this, that's a bit out of touch. I mean, people sometimes call me fatphobic, and I like to think that I'm not fatphobic, so I'm not trying to shame fat people here, but like, talk about throwing rocks while in a glass house. Like, come on. This comment was like if I did a video criticizing Andrew Tate where I shame him for being bald, and then I had like Keemstar as my co-host. Like, it's just kind of tone deaf.
The company tries to present itself as an alternative post-workout or exercise drink, and with 25 calories, that's just not going to cut it. You're getting almost no energy from calories back in your system after a workout.
Dude, if you're lifting hardcore and you're taking all these supplements and shit, guys, if you drink Prime Energy, that's just not gonna cut it. I'm sorry, were any of those guys drinking Gatorade?
Now, this argument I also find to be sort of disingenuous, because Scott Shafer is not specifically talking about Prime being a terrible post-workout recovery drink. Instead, he's referencing the Prime hydration sticks, and these things are actually marketed as this amazing thing you can drink after a workout, and it's supposed to get you like re-energized, when in reality it just doesn't, because for post-workout recovery you should have sugar and electrolytes to get you going again, and the Prime hydration sticks, artificial sweeteners, they're just not gonna get the job done. But Nicholas DeOrio is presenting this like he's just talking about a regular drink.
Take this home, give this to your sick children. Yeah, it's been known to heal ailments and STDs.
Before anyone leaves a comment saying that that was clearly a joke he made, yes, I know that, but it highlights how incredibly childish the marketing for this product is.
I hate him.
Gatorade
I hate him. I hate him
so much.
Nick, I really thought this was going to be an overreaction. I thought that this was going to be
Childish
but you are on this one.
I fucking hate this guy.
This is
so much.
This is how I realized that Nicholas DeOrio's criticisms are actually coming from a place of hatred and jealousy, because he's literally out here emphasizing that he genuinely hates and despises Scott Shafer, which that is fucking insane to me. You hate this random internet YouTuber guy you don't even know, all because he made a video that you disagree with. That seems so insane to me. Genuinely hating someone over the internet seems absurd, because out of all the people I ever made a video on, excluding people that did like some criminal stuff with children, the only person I would say that I actually hate is maybe Wings of Redemption. Like, I don't even hate Logan Paul, and I've made 3 videos against Logan Paul. I think he's a bad person, sure, but I don't hate him personally, because I don't really know him personally. Just like Nicholas DeOrio doesn't know Scott Shafer personally. But I think I do know why Nicholas DeOrio has such a hatred for Scott Shafer. Now, this is speculation on my part, but I do think it's because of jealousy. Now, I don't believe that Nick wants to be exactly like Scott Shafer or anything, but I do think that he's mad that Scott Shafer blew up for exposing the established title scam, and not like literally any other commentary YouTuber that Nick knows instead. Because don't be mistaken, Scott Shafer didn't do groundbreaking research to expose established titles. He was just the first person to say something out loud that a lot of people were already thinking. So I do believe that Nicholas DeOrio would have preferred it if a commentary channel he knows had just done exactly what Scott Shafer did. Because I do think that the fact that Scott Shafer pointed something out that to people like Nicholas DeOrio was already obvious in their mind, and Scott managed to get an entire career through that probably pisses Nicholas DeOrio off. But again, it's just speculation on my part, but what isn't speculation is that Nicholas DeOrio seems to just definitely hate Scott Shafer for some sort of superficial reason. Alright, so the next person, WillyMacShow, didn't actually make a video against Scott Shafer's criticism of Prime, but he did tweet out an out-of-context clip which I want to briefly touch on. So he says, how many times can we see Scott Shafer get mad at marketing and still take him seriously, showing this clip.
Logan has made some outlandish claims about the product, claiming it can heal ailments and STDs as well.
Take this home, give this to your sick children. Yeah, it's been known to heal ailments and STDs.
Before anyone leaves a comment saying that was clearly a joke he made, yes, I know that, but it highlights how incredibly childish the marketing for this product is. If Gatorade ever made an ad, even as a joke, claiming their products cured STDs, I guarantee the internet would light them up for making such a stupid and poor taste ad, but because it's Logan Paul, the guy can make idiotic jokes about his overpriced coconut water, and no one bats an eye about it.
Now, by showing this out-of-context clip from the video, WillyMacShow is basically saying, look, why is this guy complaining about ordinary, everyday marketing? Like, what's the point here? That's just what every company does, right? Now, I don't want to go too hard on Willy here, because again, he's literally my favorite YouTuber. This guy makes awesome videos, but I do think he's deliberately missing the greater point here. Scott is not just showcasing this to complain about how cringy their marketing is. Now, he's purposely pointing out the fact that nobody is shaming Logan Paul for his cringy marketing of the product, because everyone knows that kids are the main ones that are supposed to watch these ads, and it's obviously kids that are buying the string, as proven by literally any clip of people fighting over Prime in stores. Well, kids and resellers, that is. And obviously that's supposed to prove that, hey, Logan Paul is deliberately marketing an energy drink to kids, and I do think that that's something that needs to be criticized, because I think that's not okay. Now obviously some people are going to counter this argument by saying that all energy drink companies do this, but I think Prime is unique in the way that they primarily market to children, and stuff like Monster, Red Bull or Norco is being marketed towards everyone in general. And obviously, if you saw a 9-year-old kid drinking a can of Red Bull, most people would disapprove of that. But if the same exact situation happened with a can of Prime, most people wouldn't bat an eye, even though the effect is essentially the same. It's a potential caffeine addiction. And I do have strong feelings about this, because I think I got addicted to caffeine as a kid, because when I was 13, my skiing club got like a sponsorship deal with an iced coffee company, and they'd always give us some before races, and we were able to buy them at an extremely reduced price at the store. So within like a few months, I went from pretty much exclusively drinking like water and blueberry juice or whatever I was doing, to then drinking 1 or 2 caffeinated beverages a day. Now obviously, I'm not trying to blame anyone for my own failure to not be like dependent on caffeine, but being exposed to that at 13 was like the first domino into that dependence. So now just imagine if you exchange 13-year-old me with the average 8-year-old kid drinking Prime Energy. That kid is gonna be affected even more, and I do think that Logan Paul will be responsible for a lot of caffeine addiction if he keeps this marketing to children going. Alright, so the next person is Nerdy John. Again, I like and respect this guy a lot. I even went on this guy's podcast, and one bad video of his is not gonna make me suddenly dislike him completely. But I do think his coverage of this situation is just a cesspool of horrible takes and borderline misinformation.
His thing is, he doesn't call out crypto scams, he calls out like quote unquote like YouTube ad scams. Like his most infamous one was going after established titles, which he didn't really show a whole lot there. Scott's big exposed video on it was, did you know that you're not actually a lord or a lady? Did you know the Scottish government doesn't recognize you as one?
Alright, so right off the bat, Nerdy John is relegating every single video Scott Shafer made about established titles to him just saying that you're not actually legally a lord. Even that statement alone would be valid, because that directly contradicts information shown in certain advertisements.
Can you guess how I became a lord at just age 19?
No. I would probably have to guess that you inherited the position because your father before you.
Actually, established titles sells a title that can officially make you a lord or a lady. On top of this, since you're officially a lord or a lady, you have dedicated land in Scotland. You will literally get a certification that makes you a lord or a lady.
But Scott had a lot more to showcase against established titles than just that. For instance, he brought up the argument that they don't actually plant a tree on your square foot of land, despite claiming that they would in advertisements. Then he also proved that the company wasn't even operating from Scotland but from Hong Kong. Additionally, he also pointed out that they're planting one tree for every $60 purchase, when the charity they are using for the planting of those trees plant them for $1. Therefore, this advertised feel-good charity gag gift barely even benefits charity in the first place, because like 95% of the profit is going towards the company. So I think there was a lot more content in his exposed series than just you're not being legally a lord. So I think it's unfair to just relegate it to that.
Now you know of like the Logan Paul crypto stuff, right? I mean, people have been covering that.
Yes.
Well, Scott wanted a slice of the pie. And of course, he can't just go over CoffeeZilla's information, right? No, he has to do his own research.
Again, I don't see how this is a negative thing. If he was sitting there making videos that were just recapping whatever CoffeeZilla said, that would be indisputably worse content than him just doing his own research to speak about different situations involving Logan Paul. Also, even so, Scott Shafer did also cover CryptoZoo as well, and I don't think he was leeching off CoffeeZilla, because he refuted Logan Paul's responses way before CoffeeZilla even published a response himself.
This is how like how dumb his audience is. He had to explain what the Wayback Machine was in one of his videos. And if you don't know what the Wayback Machine is, it's a website that allows you to view other sites at an earlier date.
This is the same line of argumentation that commentary channels used a while back when the whole Internet AJ situation went down, and the argument is basically, oh, this person is relaying information that is already obvious to me, therefore his audience must be a bunch of idiots. And I despise this argument. Scott Shafer wants his videos to broadly appeal to everyone, not just to a specific niche audience, but the people who could gain something by watching his videos, and therefore the people he would specifically target, with him being a scam exposer, are victims of scams themselves. Now, who is the average victim of a scam? Probably a middle-aged to elderly person on the internet. And if they're falling for scams, they're not gonna know what the Wayback Machine is. I didn't know about the Wayback Machine before I started doing commentary. So why shame him for explaining it to his audience who obviously aren't familiar with it? Because they're not like terminally online commentary channels, right? They're just average people. So I don't understand how this is possibly considered a bad thing.
Maybe Logan and KSI had the idea for a drink, right? But they needed someone with the actual capital and experience with that kind of stuff, so they partnered with those guys.
Again, I like you, John, but this borders on disinformation, because you're presenting an alternate theory as to who actually came up with Prime, which doesn't make any sense if you think about it for longer than 5 seconds. So here's my evidence as to why Prime was not Logan Paul's idea. So Congo Brands, the people who actually own Prime Hydration, they created Prime and filed for the copyright of that brand in 2015. So if Prime was Logan Paul's idea, he would have had to have thought of it in 2015 when he was doing this.
Do you know who I am? Is there a reason you honked at me?
Crap, can you back up?
What is he gonna do?
I don't know, he's kind of crazy. These kind of people do crazy stuff.
And then he would additionally also have to have have filed it not under his own name, but instead under Congo Brands, who were basically an unknown company at the time. But maybe John is just trying to say that Logan had the idea to make like a hydration drink and came across Prime, so therefore he partnered with them. Well, in that case, you're gonna have to explain to me how millionaire YouTuber Logan Paul, who launched several of his own companies and products with him and his manager as the founders and owners of these companies, would not just make himself and KSI the majority owners. You're saying that this was Logan Paul's idea from the get-go, and he willingly let other people take charge of his company, and he willingly only gave himself like 15% ownership of the company. I don't believe that for a second. It's obviously Congo Brands who approached Logan Paul and KSI.
No one can verify how much of the company Logan KSI own, and I reached out to Prime Hydration to see if they wanted to tell me the ownership amounts, but have not heard anything back. Now let's take a look.
Oh no, Dad, you're a loser. Why would they give you information?
Now, this is another point about Nerdy John's coverage of Scott Shafer that I just can't agree with, because he's essentially making fun of him for trying to do journalistic work, and it's like, why? Here's some information that is unknown to the public, let me try and reach out to get it. Like, if he hadn't reached out to ask the company for a statement, I would consider that bad faith research, or at least biased research, because it's like, if you're trying to figure out something about a company and ask them directly for a comment, that is a sign of fair and unbiased journalism, in my opinion.
He sent an email to report like established titles as a company, to have some sort of a governmental entity investigate them, and he got an automated email, and he took that as proof as, I got into contact with the government body and they said that they would be and they told me personally that they would be investigating this.
Scott Shafer did not do or try any of that. There was another person entirely, and Scott Shafer merely brought attention to it in one of his videos.
Like there are plenty of bodybuilders that I know personally who they don't drink post-workout like stuff like this. They literally down entire liters of Coca-Cola after they finish a workout, because that's just like what fills them back up, and they're fine.
Now, this is yet another extremely short-sighted argument. Coca-Cola doesn't advertise itself as a post-workout drink. The average person is not gonna be refreshed after drinking Coca-Cola or Red Bull or Prime after a workout, but the people behind Prime are advertising the drink as a post-workout drink. Now, your bodybuilder friend chugging a Coca-Cola down his throat after a workout and then being refreshed is like, okay, cool, good that he can do that, I guess, but it has nothing to do with the argument at hand.
Even Hitler made fucking VW cars that people still drive. So it's like, even if like the person's terrible, the product's like, hey, you know, like not so bad.
You know what? I'm just gonna leave that Hitler-Logan Paul comparison uncommented.
Finally, I want to highlight my favorite marketing clip for Prime, where a customer brings up NFTs.
Hey, let me put you onto an NFT real quick.
Leave.
No. Get out of here.
Let me put you on an NFT. Yeah. Fucking hell. Hey, yo.
What's wrong here?
I got bored donkeys, bro. Trust
that wasn't
me.
even a part of the marketing. This is a joke.
Now, that ad is actually pretty funny, and it hits different after...
I actually kind of like that. I thought that was actually pretty funny, which is why I included it in my video so that I could pad out the time.
So here it's just a lose-lose situation for Scott Shafer. Either Scott puts nuance in this video by also mentioning certain aspects of Prime marketing that he likes, and then Nerdy John and his buddy claim it's just to stretch out the video, which by the way doesn't make any sense because the video only needs to be 8 minutes for you to be able to show ads. And even without this segment, Scott's video would have been longer than 8 minutes. Or alternatively, Scott doesn't mention this and Nerdy John's complaint would have been, yeah, Scott is entirely one-sided and biased. So it's a screwed if you do, screwed if you don't situation for Scott here, because John obviously just wants to paint Scott as a bad creator by all means necessary, which makes sense because all the people around him in this community are doing the same thing. But then again, Nerdy John's video just seemed sort of unnecessary to me, because at the end of the day, Logan Paul claimed he saw a hole in the market for post-workout recovery drinks and therefore he found a Prime. And Scott Shafer successfully disproved both of these claims in his video. Now, the last person that went after Scott is a British streamer called Chud Logic, and he essentially just calls Scott a bootleg Coffeezilla, which to me, comparing him to Coffeezilla seems a bit unfair, because realistically speaking, in the scammer call-out commentary channel community, there's only really like 4 channels that do this type of content: Coffeezilla, Spencer Cornelia, Philion, and Scott Shafer. And to always compare Scott to Coffeezilla just because they are in a similar content sphere would be like me always comparing like the newest video essay of Chud Logic's friend Tom Foolery Show to like The Right Opinion video. It's just not a reasonable comparison, because The Right Opinion makes some of the indisputably best commentary content, and anything that you're gonna compare with it will most likely look underwhelming. So like, if you would rate commentary channels in sort of a tier list based on video content alone, I would put Scott Shafer in like above average content. But since everyone compares him to CoffeeZilla, he's being constantly criticized. And another thing, Chud Logic constantly reiterates in this video that apparently it's already obvious that these brands that claim to be owned by celebrities aren't actually owned by them. And while that may be true, even though I would still find it scummy if like someone like Ellen DeGeneres or The Rock told people that they opened up a brand and then they don't even own it. But I guess a lot of people would know that they're bullshitting because they're celebrities with giant media corporations behind them. But Logan Paul is a YouTuber. Now for me personally, he's like a celebrity now, but for a lot of people they still perceive this guy as like a self-made YouTuber, because YouTube was originally anti-traditional media and YouTubers weren't really traditional celebrities, and that's why a lot of people believe him when he says he founded this company, especially since Mr. Beast did the exact same thing as Logan Paul with his company Feastables. Like, their marketing formula, if you break it down, it was basically identical, and Feastables is actually owned by Mr. Beast, aka Jimmy Donaldson, that's his actual name. So since Logan Paul and Mr. Beast promoted their brand in the exact same way, and everybody apparently knows that Feastables chocolate is actually owned by Mr. Beast, I think it's fair to assume that most people, especially normies, think that Prime is also owned by Logan Paul.
But I do want to bring up the fact that Prime has only 25 calories for the entire bottle. They're able to do this by not having any added sugar in the product and using an artificial sweetener, sucralose, to make the product sweet with...
Wait, is he explaining to us how low sugar drinks work now? Right, guys? Well, guys, there's a low sugar drink here. The way that they do that is they use sweeteners instead of sugar. Yes, obviously. Do you think I'm fucking retarded? Yeah, obviously that's going to be the case.
Alright, so I don't think that this is a malicious argument by Chud Logic by any means, but I do believe that if this guy went to America, he would be very surprised about the amount of people who just believe that like a Diet Coke is just like a normal Coca-Cola without sugar. Because there are a lot of people who don't even know or realize that they use artificial sweeteners instead. So I think it's fair from Scott to point that out.
If you want more details about the chemical breakdown of Prime, I'll have a link below to More Plates, More Dates, an expert in this field who did an excellent breakdown of why Prime isn't a good post-workout drink. Finally, let's take a look at...
I mean, but this is the problem, is that guy probably did a good video about it, I guess. I've not watched it. But like, if you're looking at purely from the perspective of what product is best, and you're going, okay, based on my analysis and based on my understanding of the human body, this is the best product as a post-workout thing, that's fine. But Scott Shafer is again fucking half-arsing it, and he's schlubbing it, and he's going, oh, well, this guy did a good video on it, so go and watch that guy. Like, I don't know, like, do the fucking legwork.
This is yet another sentiment that I just plainly disagree with. So you're actually telling me that Chud Logic would find it better if Scott Shafer had copied this guy's entire video and just pretended like he discovered all this information on his own, instead of, you know, doing the reasonable and not scummy thing of shouting out the person that already did a good video on it. Like, that perspective seems insane to me. I am certain that this is a statement that Chud Logic would not stand by now.
It's like he's trying to force a scandal where there isn't really a scandal beyond influencer shilling overpriced drink. Like, that's it. That's the story, guys. That's the story. Influencer shilling overpriced drink.
Again, Scott Shafer is not trying to make anything here a scandal. He's just reasonably explaining why he thinks Prime is a bad product and how the company is marketing that product misleadingly. And there's no scandal here. He's not trying to make it a scandal. And you can verify this just by how Scott titled this video in comparison to the established title series, which was in fact a scandal exposed type video series. So you can clearly see that the Prime critique is not similar to that at all in how it's being presented, because it's just supposed to be a critique.
Logan and KSI make prank-style Walmart ads for the product, act like children in the ads instead of adults selling a serious product, and they even throw keg-style parties for their new energy line of drinks as well, which is funny because Logan once called those caffeine energy drinks garbage in a Prime ad, and now he's selling the same thing.
It's got no caffeine? Of course it's got no caffeine. Bro, this is a hydration beverage, not some shit. This year, we're introducing a brand new product, Prime Energy.
What's his point here? They were shitting on energy drinks and then have made one. I mean, this is pretty fucking weak. Is this something I'm supposed to be like, oh my god, the outrage?
Now, I don't understand how this is supposed to be a weak point in the slightest. Logan Paul has made statements in the past directly calling energy drinks trash because they got caffeine in them, and now a year later he himself is selling an energy drink with caffeine in it, and he's promoting that exact same thing in his undisclosed advertisements. Meaning there's a direct contradiction there. That's a strong point in my opinion. Well, yeah, that's basically everything relevant Chud Logic had to say on the situation. I don't think Chud Logic or any of the other people I criticized here, besides maybe Nicholas DeOrio, were intending to be like malicious towards Scott, but they all fell victim to this Scott Shafer hate pipeline for some reason, when in reality I think the guy's content is pretty good, and I would personally recommend you check out this channel. And yeah, also drop a like on this video because I think a lot of people are gonna dislike this because there's just this stigma against Scott Shafer right now, and my take is gonna be very unpopular, so drop a like, sub to the channel, and yeah, I'll see you around.